Hello, everybody. A warm welcome to another edition of our Across Retail Talks. My name is Reinhard Winivater. I'm the publisher of Across Magazine, and I'm very pleased that so many people across Europe are here today. The topic is also very, very special. At the beginning, maybe few short statements about our retail talks. Klaus Striebich and I started this series about a year ago. The aim is to have top-class experts discuss the latest retail issues. The coronavirus has now led us to switch the format that was originally intended as a live format to online. Today's talk is the second online talk we have, and the great feedback we had up to now motivated us to continue with it. European outlets, back to normal, so today's topic. A top-class discussion group is ready. Klaus Striebich will lead this discussion as an expert moderator. Maybe two more comments from my side. Please take part in the discussion and ask questions. Use the chat function. And secondly, in the next few days, we will send a summary and a video of the discussion via our newsletter. That's it from my side at the beginning. I now hand over to Klaus Striebich. Klaus, the stage is yours.
Thanks very much and welcome everybody, and thanks for the invitation and thanks for the great efforts you have taken so far, Reinhard, for this second online conference. And the response from the market side was fantastic. So we are expecting lots of participants, and that shows that the title, the theme, the idea is great. European outlets back to normal, or what is normal? We have invited fantastic panelists today. I try to introduce them in alphabetical order with the request to say some words about their persons and which company they are working for. And let's get started with Otto Ambachzer from Via Outlets. Otto, hello and welcome.
Hello, Klaus, and hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Otto Ambachzer. I'm the CEO of Via Outlets. Via Outlets owns and operates 11 outlet centers in 9 countries across Europe. We have 2 shareholders with equal shareholding, APG and Hammerson. And we are transforming our outlet centers into premium fashion outlets by transforming them by remarketing, remodeling, and remerchandising.
Thanks very much. You have a long way of experience in the business, so I think we will hear about that later. Thanks for that. We will following with Stefan Fickel, brand new with Nineva. Hello, Stefan. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Klaus. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to join this webinar. So I'm working at Nineva. We are also operating 19 outlets across 6 different countries in Europe. Some retail parks as well in Spain and Poland. My background previously has been in the full price business. I've always been leasing commercial real estate, just over 20 years now. And for the last 7 years in the outlet business. I was previously at MacArthur Glen, and I've just recently, from May, joined as Group Leasing Director at Nineva.
Super, thanks for that. And we are extremely curious to hear your view and what you have learned so far. And next one is Thomas Reichenauer from ROS. Welcome, and let's listen what you're doing so far.
Yeah, welcome everybody. So we from ROS, I founded the company together with the partner Gerd Graf in 2011. I worked in the outlet industry before for MacArthur Glen for already more than 10 years, and we are actually managing for different investors, funds, and family offices, 10 outlet centers all over Europe in 9 countries. So in Germany, Poland, Hungary, Portugal, Italy, and so on, Germany also. And at the moment, we're developing new centers, which the openings had been slightly delayed, especially in Spain at the moment. And yeah, I think we're doing, let's say, premium, but not luxury outlet center. And our, let's say, niche in the niche is that we are working for different investors and have not just one bunch. So we are a pure management company, but doing everything from development, leasing, to the operating of the outlet centers.
Thanks very much. And what I understood is that your company is a classical service provider for the outlet industry. And if you compare to the other participants, they are, let's say, part of also an investment company, which is maybe a different point of view. Maybe we can find out what is the real difference, if there is a real difference, if there is a real difference. We are also expecting Mario Schwann from MacArthur Glen. I think that shows that we are living in busy times. So hopefully he will join us a little bit later, but we will get started anyhow with our questionnaire. Again, to the auditorium, if there's any question towards the participants, towards the panelists, please raise it via the chat room. Don't be hesitant to use it. Let's get started with the current situation because I'm absolutely sure that all of the people are curious to hear what has happened during COVID-19 times within your company. Maybe some words, what has happened with you or with the company, with the retailers, and where are you with some short sentences? Thomas, would you get started again?
Yeah. So, you know, coming back to the COVID-19 situation, I think we all faced the same situation. All the centers were closed, but now everything is reopened. And what we can say is that after the crisis, I think the outlets all over our portfolio, all over Europe, recover quite well. So we see really good improvements and good sales now. There are some, you know, some that develop better, which have a good local catchment area. Those who are more, you know, relying on tourism, like we have our center in the Algarve in Portugal. There we have a more difficult situation. So it seems that those who have a good core catchment area and they're not so tourist-based, they are developing much better. But we see very encouraging figures. Slightly differences in the categories. So the various categories like sports, casual, and so on are developing quite well. And some of the categories like formal menswear, ladies wear, they are a little bit suffering at the moment. So also within the centers. But overall, I can say the success factors, the USP of the designer outlet, I think this is still working. And we see, similar to 2008, that the outlet centers are, I think, resistant to the crisis. Not resistant, but, you know, we recover good.
Was there anything surprising for you, what you have seen within that times?
Well, surprising. I think it was surprising, you know, with all these distancing, social distancing measures and all that, the people were very disciplined in all of the countries, but we see with, you know, less of these measurements, the better the turnovers get, yeah? And now it's important, you know, with, you know, different marketing strategies, we cannot do events like late night shoppings or other events, music festivals, which are in some of the centers quite good things. So we see we have to change our marketing strategy in a way, more into digital, social media and all of that, yeah, and less on-site events and stuff like that.
Thank you. Stefan, how was it with Nainva?
I think, what we've definitely seen is the longer the centers have been open, the more the footfall has come back. So, you know, the centers that opened were first in Germany and Poland, they're in a good position now. The last ones, Madrid opened recently, so they're again at the beginning of the curve, but it will come back. You know, we see week on week, there's improvement on the footfall. The trend we've seen, the sales tend to outgrow the footfall. It's partly driven, as Thomas has said, you know, by the high performances in the sport category, in the homeware category. Product is on the market, so they can sell it, they can offer good discounts, and that is driving the sales, which is positive for us. There are, of course, some segments, you know, maybe formal wear, suits, shirts, people are not buying at the moment. There's not a need for that, but that will come back as well. You know, we're confident about that. I think the challenge for us is you're faced with a new reality. So we found as well during the week when you've had less footfall, you've come back quicker. The challenge is how do you deal with your peak periods now, your weekends? You've got physical constraints. Often you're only allowed a certain amount of people in the outlets. How do the big retailers, the big Nikes, Adidas's, how do they manage with the big flow of customers that they have? I think the challenges will also be how do you deal with your special events, your late night shopping, all these peak periods where you get a huge amount of footfall coming into the center. That's going to be, you know, how can you move that footfall during periods where it's a bit slower? How can you activate your catchment? We've definitely also seen outlets that are predominantly dependent on the local catchment come back a lot quicker. So some of the centers in Poland, Leipzig, for instance, other centers like Rottenheim, where the border was closed, a large proportion of our catchment was dependent on Germany. That was missing. Since the borders opened, that's come back as well. Centers that are dependent on international tourists, they're just not here at the moment. So here the challenge is how can we tap into the European tourist market now? it's going to give us all challenges. It will also give us new opportunities. I think the good thing generally about the outlet segment, we're very reactive, we're very quick, and we're armed with a lot of data. So, and this, you know, we can see what is the best strategy to apply. It's an innovative sector in terms of also the digital applications they have. So I'm confident. I mean, it's post-COVID, it was flying. We've got a bit of a dip now, but we'll come back. No doubt about that.
Fantastic, great, sounds good. Otto, how was it with VIA? Do you see any differences in the countries, for example, or in the location?
Yeah, it's a very similar story. We had to close 8 of our 11 centers, and now all the centers are open and trading. So I'm much more optimistic than, let's say, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when we had still most of our centers closed. So we see a very strong rebound after reopening. A higher spend per visitor compared to the same period last year, which is interesting. Footfall also stronger, where we have no government cap on footfall. So in some regions, some countries, we still have a cap on the maximum number of footfall, which is not helping. And our key objective is for all our centers is to rebuild performance to reach 2019 footfall and sales numbers as soon as possible. But I'm quite optimistic. I think we've seen a very strong rebound after the closing and the reopening. So yeah, positive outlook for the centers in my view.
And do you see some change in the shopper behavior? So Thomas mentioned that there was, let's say, some sales missing in the formal wear or menswear, which normally less suits are sold. Is outlet shopping more rewarding or more fulfilling needs? What do you think? Is there a change to be seen at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a few categories are struggling. Men's formal wear is struggling. Obviously, the baggage and luggage category is struggling. So the big question is how long will that really return the business? So yeah, we see a difference in sort of the category mix and the performance of the mix. After the reopening of the centers, kids fashion was very strong because I think a lot of people were not able to buy clothes for the kids, and they keep growing. Yeah, we saw a big growth in kids fashion. But the biggest struggling now is men's formal wear, and the key question is: are people going to wear suits again and shirts and ties? So yeah, let's wait and see. That could have a longer impact than just these few weeks after the reopening of the centers.
Great. And do you see any difference between, let's say, the high luxury brands and the casual brands? Is there also a change seen? Or is it more or less the same than in the...
Yeah, more or less the same. Of course, we don't have a lot of real luxury brands. We only have a few. They're performing well. But so are the sports brands, so are the outdoor brands. So are sort of the premium fashion brands. So it's more like men's formal wear and luggage and baggage. They're really struggling.
Right. There must be something in the back why outlet centers have recovered so fast. Therefore, I would love to touch and discuss with you about the success factors in general from outlet centers. I heard some, let's say, dependencies concerning locations. So if you're too close to a borderline and there was a closed border, then it's of course a problem. With let's say 50% of people are missing, which is somehow obvious. But let's talk about the success factors of the outlets in general, Thomas. What do you think, if you name, let's say, just a few of them, a handful or 3, what are the main success factors compared to other ones?
Well, I think first of all, it's very important to stick to the concept, to the clear USP that you have, great brands for great prices. I think this is the minimum requirement for the customers. The other thing is clearly a good brand mix that meets the customer's expectation. That's not just always super luxury. So we see the best performing centers are in these, premium sports categories regarding performance and customer needs. And the other thing is, I think we have in the last couple of years, also find a way to not fight the online, but to become to get into the online world, with all these, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, Pinterest and so on, but really try ongoing to bring the people into the centers and to create meeting places, to create places to be, to create, a good shopping experience a day out. And I think this is what most of the outlet centers can give to the customer. So on the one hand, it's a bargain hunting, it's get great brands for great price. But the other hand, the whole environment, the way, how the food developed a lot in the last years in the outlet business. So a lot of innovative concepts have been brought to the outlets. Now, the other hand, when you see it from the customer point of view, this is the one thing. And from the brand perspective, I think the service that we give to the brands, if it's in marketing, if it's in the retail, if it's in facility management and so on, and the permanent direct contact. So listen to the brand partners, see what their needs are, and together develop the whole concept further. And also be open-minded with pop-up stores and others for new innovative retail concepts. I think this is also one of the, the next steps, and will also help us after this, COVID-19, issue of the first half year.
Fantastic. That sounds very, very operational, to be honest. What I've missed is location quality, or the quality of location. What is your point of view on that?
I think that's anyway a must, yeah. So but that's a must for shopping centers, the same as for the outlets, yeah. But we see location, and you mentioned it before, is so what we see is that, and I think this is common understanding, those who have a good core catchment area within 60, 90 minutes, which is in one country, so the people could come after the opening. It was an easier restart than those who are, as you are close to a border, as you are very tourism destination. So, but, this is maybe a learning for the future for look for locations. But, that the location factor is still the first thing before you open an outlet is a very clear and obvious topic.
Otto, your point of view concerning the success factors?
Yeah, I think we have to create a shopping destination worldwide traveling to. So the basics are a mix of national and international brands at discounted price. But for me, it's much more than the discount shopping. It has to be a day out. It has to be a pleasant guest experience. So I think one of the unique selling points of outlet centers, they're very much focusing on the guest experience, much more than full price shopping center environments, in my view. And I think there needs to be more focus on food and beverage in the future. And we are much more focusing on beautiful local brands as well. So it's not just the international fashion brands that can make your center stronger, but it's also these very nice, unique, boutique, beautiful local fashion brands that can make a real difference. But I think one of the unique selling points of outlet centers is not just the discounts for premium brands, it is the experience that it offers and the service that's offered to the guests.
Interesting. Let's stick on that a little bit. So could that mean that we will see a big change in the branch and telemix? Because many people have in mind that outlet centers are still focused on discount prices, having nice products for a much better price, and this is a main attractor.
But that's not enough in my view, because if it's just discount shopping, you're probably not going to win from online retail. So yes, discount shopping, international brands, beautiful local brands, that's a must-have. But you need to do much more than that. You have to offer a very pleasant experience. You have to focus on service to your guests, because otherwise you're not going to win from online retail. So yes, discounted shopping is part of the offer. The retail mix, the brand mix is part of the offer, but I think you have to go a step further to really make a difference for the consumer and the guests who have a choice where to shop.
I would love also to stick a little bit on the location quality. So outlet centers are located mainly out of town or far away from a city. Maybe mainly the reason is some of them legal discussions. If you could change that, what would be the ideal location from your point of view, Otto, where to locate the next outlet center?
Well, of course, the catchment area is key. So in a neighborhood of a large European capital city is great. And then a huge, big European capital city with a lot of tourists, it's even better. But the catchment area, 60-minute or 90-minute catchment area is key. That's a key decision. And then you have to, and say it again, you have to create a shopping destination worldwide traveling to, because most of the outlet centers are a little bit further out of that big city center. And the reason is, we don't want to compete with full price shopping centers. We don't want to cannibalize the full price business of our brands. So there's a very good reason why outlet centers are located a little bit further out of the city. And for me, that makes sense as well. So yeah, the perfect location is, yes, you have a huge European capital city with a lot of tourists in your catchment area.
Okay. Stefan, your point of view on that? How do you see the success factors?
I think as well, I mean, partly just to touch on what Otto said as well, I think it's from the history. I mean, the outlet channel has become more sophisticated. The brands are investing much more money. They've got dedicated teams now. It's something they didn't have before. It's no longer just a pure clearance model. So, the view in the beginning was they need to be careful of where their full price is and not to be in proximity to their distribution and their own retail stores. That has eroded a little bit. And I mean, now we're seeing it with our project in Amsterdam. It's very close to the city center. You take the train, you're there in 10 minutes at the central station. I don't think a project like that would have been possible 10, 15 years ago, where there would have been a lot more resistance. But now, as the outlet channel has evolved and become a proper channel in itself as well, and a highly profitable one for the tenants, you're seeing a reduction of this. I mean, it's even a step further. If you look at the American brands that have come to the market, when Coach came, when Under Armour came, the first retail stores they opened were outlets. They didn't even go into full price because they know what they're getting there. You're also getting a whole lot of exposure to customers maybe you won't get in traditional full price retail. So there's a lot of advantages in that. And I think it's a good way. The successful retailers are the ones that are going to be strong in each of these distribution channels and not only focus on one. And then back to touch on the success factors, I think it's a very specialized segment. And if you look at the management as well, from all the KPIs we get, we monitor the sales on a daily basis. It's not looking at the turnover analysis once a quarter. It's not a model of banking a high base rent and looking at a long lease term, which is the basis of your financial and investment model. It's really turnover driven. It's all about driving sales performance. And to do that, you need an effective system. You need to have the teams in place. You need to have the retail managers. They need to be engaging with the tenants. They need to be making sure that they have the right stock, that they have the breadth of offer as well. And that's another key evolution as well. It's no longer this clearance where you go and you might find your size if you're looking at a particular brand. It's important for the brands now to have the full depth and range of offer. And they're becoming much more sophisticated in this. And generally, this level of sophistication, be it in retail management, in the way we analyze the numbers, the marketing, all the digital platforms we're using now, I think that's great. And it's a really exciting industry to be in.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. We get back to that in a few seconds. We have a fantastic first question from the auditorium. I read it, and has the fact that many outlets are open air made a difference versus indoor centers? I'll start with you again, Stefan. What do you think? Is this a great, let's say, point for differentiation?
I think it's part of the experience as well. It's, if you look at, let me take Roermond as an example. If you're coming from Germany, it's really a day out. First of all, you're in a different country. You've got the feeling you're in this little, Roermond is a cute town as well. And then you have this really nice shopping environment, which is outside. If the weather is great, you have a village character, everything is nice. Everything's done towards making the customer feel good, which, this is a generalization, but often the wallets get loosened. If you're feeling happy and you're more likely to spend a little bit more cash. If you're happy where you are, then and you end up spending more time ultimately in the center as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The point of view from Otto concerning this open air discussion?
Yeah, I think it's a benefit, key benefit. I think one of the first things we have to guarantee now to our guests is safe shopping. We have to facilitate safe shopping, and from consumer point of view, they feel more safe in an open air outlet center. So in general, I think outlet centers are well suited to facilitate safe shopping because of the design. You have the space, In general, outlet centers can guarantee safe shopping by implementing all kinds of operational measures, and we have the space to do it. But I think the guest or the consumer or the potential client feels more safe in an outdoor environment. So yeah, I think it's a strength. Although we have 3 enclosed outlet centers in our portfolio, and they're performing very well too. But I think it's during COVID-19, it was a benefit to be outdoor. Yes.
Okay. Does that mean that we do not see outlet malls in areas which are a little bit more difficult concerning weather conditions, like Siberia or something like that?
Yeah, we have a center in Seville and it's 42 degrees there, so I'm pleased it's enclosed. So it depends on the location, but you know, and when we designed these outlet centers, we didn't even know about COVID-19 or Corona. So, but it was a strength to be an outdoor center during the whole crisis, and it still is, I guess.
Okay, there's a next question coming. I try to read it slowly. Hi all, I would be interested in the fact, how are you dealing with planned investments in facilities and decoration in general? Do you still stick to the investment plan or have adjusted your investments to the COVID-19 situation? So maybe that is a very good question concerning your discussions from now. How have you reacted with this question internally?
Well, we, of course, we had to look at our cash flow forecast, and we have put a lot of investments on hold, but we continued some of the key development projects in our portfolio, like redeveloping or remodeling projects. Depending on the cash flow forecast, we decided to put a lot of projects on hold, obviously. But my expectation is that we'll restart these projects again sort of the early September, also depending on the cash flow forecast and where we are sort of mid-August. But obviously we had to put a lot of things on hold because we had to manage the cash flow, and it was very challenging. Okay. But we didn't stop all the projects. Some of the key remodeling projects were like in Oslo Fashion Outlet or in Ville de Con in Porto. We never stopped these projects.
Thomas, how have reacted your landlords and your owners?
Well, we can just say very honestly, so we had just slowed down or a little bit the extension. So we're doing at the moment the 3 extensions in Poland, all the 3 Polish center. We have just to postpone because of these topics, the opening of the outlet in Zaragoza. But overall, all the extensions, all the developments, all is now, you know, after a period of being, you know, stopped for a certain period, is coming back. And obviously also from the brand feedback that brands are cautious, yeah, that's clear. But we see that, you know, our time plans are just postponed, yeah, but there's nothing stopped or so. Regarding investments, capex and so on, I think we had prioritized it now, what should be still in this year and what would it maybe be for next year, but all the necessary investments are definitely will be done. So from our point of view, you know, we have, for example, one of our investors, IKEA, Inca, we're partners of them, or DWS, which is a Deutsche Bank. So this is all ongoing, and we see it's very important, you know, to stick to the agreements, to stick also to your suppliers and say, okay, there's a life after COVID-19, and we need to find ways to come over the closing period. But now after that, the sooner we recover, the sooner we start again with everything, the better we will come out of the crisis. And one last point of that, yeah, we also thought, okay, how will the brands come out of this? And, you know, I think in all of the outlet centers, we had more or less no brand that closed down due to Corona. So we have reopened, in principle, the whole center with all the brands, which is also, I think, in the shopping center world a little bit different. And to reopen with, in all the sense, in principle, with 100% of the existing brands was also a success in itself. And I think this also shows how stable the outlet business is also in these difficult times.
Okay, great. There's a nice other question. We have lots of questions from the auditorium, which is nice. So I don't have to use my own questions. A very nice question is coming, and I read it again. Hi, I would like to know what is the perfect tenant mix category-wise. Might we have a too high share of fashion brands in the outlet centers? Interesting question. I would love to know. Thomas, could you start with that? Well, what is, from your point of view, the ideal branch and tenant mix?
well, the ideal tenant mix is that meets the customer's expectations, yeah, and fits to your catchment area. But I think there is a common mix that we have our percentages on, you know, sport, outdoor, casual, premium. Some of the centers have, or you know, really luxury brands also. But I think in a lot of the centers it's just this premium and outdoor and so on. And then you need to have some local things. You have to be ready for new, let's say, new brands, you know, but brands that come new into the markets and too much fashion. Well, I think what we definitely had to improve, and we have improved it in a lot of centers, was the food and beverage offer. Yeah, with some things that was definitely in the past kind of a not the best in the outlets, to be honest on this. And then, you know, we have a lot of fashion brands, but it also goes in accessories, it goes in new concept, like we said, you know, Lego Fan Factory, or we have a Playmobil house in one of our centers in Budapest. So we also have additional assortments and additional strategies if it's in accessories or other things. But overall, I think the core business will be still done with fashion, shoes, and all that.
Okay. Differentiation between luxury and casual brands or ideal brands, Otto, from your point of view, what is your outlook or your prediction concerning the ideal branch and tenant mix, if I may ask?
Yeah, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all approach answer here. You know, it depends on the location of the center, the positioning, competition. I think it has to be a mix of international and national brands. And when I said before, we have a very special focus on what we call beautiful local brands. Fashion is key. As I said, our positioning is really premium fashion outlets. But we see more and more beauty entering into our centers as well. So it's impossible to say this is the perfect category mix or brand mix for a center. It depends on the location and the positioning of the center.
Yeah.
Okay, there was it's many questions arising, so but we have to stick on our discussion at the moment. Thomas, you mentioned Lego Fun Factory. I think you will be all very interested in having Lego stores in the outlet malls, which I have not seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the biggest brands we have retail side wise. What do you think about this brand, and how do you see it? What kind of impact could they deliver?
Well, what we do is in our outlet in Zaragoza, we have a combination. There is the outlet center, and then there is adjacent is an urban entertainment center, which is connected with cinema, food areas, and so on, and also this Lego Fun Factory also. I think what we need to do is we need to give additional reasons to visit. So that might be done with adjacent attractivities like theme parks or other topics that give a kind of a combination which you can use in addition to the outlet. And I think this is what we need to think ahead. How can we bring additional reasons to visit to the outlet centers? And all that, if it's a climbing wall or other entertainment and also food or, you know, cinemas or evening activities. I think this might help. All the others, what Otto said, I just can agree to that. Yeah, we need to have a tailor-made approach. You have your overall brand and merchandise mix, but there needs to be a tailor-made approach for the different locations. I give just regarding concepts, I don't know if it's the designer outlet on the Algarve, what we have, is embedded in a big complex where there's a big IKEA blue box store. Then it's the so-called Mars Shopping Center, which is a huge shopping center. And then we have the adjacent outlet, and we are mentioning the outlet. The owner of that whole complex is IKEA, and we have a very clear strategy which brand should be in the outlet, which food and normal brands are in the Mars Shopping and IKEA. So there's a complex that fits, that have three offers, but you have different offers, a different approach and marketing. But the end for the customer, the bigger the location is, the more attractive it is. And I think these are also some ideas for the future to combine it with other retail. So we have two centers where we are adjacent to, because of us, the ownership of IKEA, we're adjacent to the IKEA blue box. And we see a lot of synergies already in this, you know, in a way of developing a location. So not the IKEA, for example, needs to develop the place, and also not just the outlet by itself needs to develop it. So there's a common understanding and common approach to the market with different offers.
Okay, Stefan, on your wish list for the ideal branch and tenant mix, which brands would you love to write on the first line?
I mean, key for us is the performance of the brands all the time. So, you know, we are targeting those that are delivering the highest sales densities per square meter. So obviously in the sports segment, the outdoor brands, they're flying now at the moment. If you have a center, and I agree with what the other panelists said, you need to look at what is the characteristics of your catchment. If you have a center that's really local, it's not going to help you put a Prada in there because you're not going to have the customer for that. And it's going to be a little bit, you need that international profile of customer for those brands to be able to work. And they also expect that. So that is going to be key. But I think things like what's very interesting, what we've seen is moving away a little bit from fashion. The cosmetic industry is flying. If you look at brands like Rituals, they're doing sensational sales in the outlets, especially in Germany. And there's a lot of interesting concepts in the cosmetic branch. Douglas has made their first steps into outlets as well. And the numbers we've seen from them have also been phenomenal. Things like, with toys, Playmobil, when we opened them in Ochtrup, fantastic numbers, and that's great. Just to differentiate the mix again a bit. We tried pop-ups as well, and that's what I love about the outlet business is the flexibility as well to be able to test brands. So we looked at things like barbecue, Weber, Rösler. They were also surprisingly working very well. So it's about testing these new brands. We've been looking at brands that are predominantly selling on online platforms, how we can bring them into brick and mortar. And there might be a trend that's going, brands like Naked that were looking more at online sales, testing their feet in outlets. It's an interesting way to go. I think it's all about engaging with the customer at the end of the day and what they're looking for and maintaining that degree of flexibility that when you have a brand that is interested to come, that you then also have a unit that you can make a deal, because often, especially in the successful centers, you just don't have the space.
Okay. If I ask you whether you would love to lease to an Apple outlet store or to an e-bike brand at the moment, would you give them a lease?
If Apple, it depends. If they can really sell the interesting product, if it's only going to be, we've had the experience with the reseller before as well. They weren't allowed to sell the iPhones. They were only allowed to sell the accessories. And then it actually turned out to be a disappointment for the customer because they were expecting the Apple experience. So as long as you can guarantee that experience, then I'm all for it. We did something with Nespresso as well. Now, while they weren't able to discount the capsules, they were able to discount the coffee machines. But again, it was an interesting proposal because Nespresso, there weren't that many places you could buy the capsules. It was an interesting additional offer that we could get. And then we did something with them as well. It's all down to the performance and how the customer takes onto the brand at the end of the day.
Thanks very much. We have still some questions from the auditorium. Some of them, just a few, are still asking for the management from the COVID time. So there are questions coming up how you have experienced these unplanned closures or how you have managed all the social distancing measurings or the occupancy compared with the occupancy in the open air premises. Just a few a sentence or two how you managed it in detail or in operations with it COVID-19 times. Who would love to start? Stefan, are you still on the mic?
Yeah. So I think a big factor now, one can say leisure and experience has given away a little bit more to safety and rationality. Safety is of paramount importance for the customers. We've seen that. So we've focused a lot on that. In the centers, we've opened first. We've had our learnings, like in Poland and Portugal, and the protocols that have been implemented, we've been able to adapt and improve on and have constructive feedback with our brand partners as well to see what's working, what's not working. I mentioned, the trick has been how to deal with the peak periods. That's the challenge for us now. If we have special events, if we have weekends, how can you get that same amount of people into the center? It is going to be a challenge, but it's going to be limited in time as well. So I think, again, it's temporarily, it's not going to be that long. And generally what we've seen, the resonance and the feedback has been positive, right? It's been more positive than we've expected. And luckily for us, at least, the footfall is coming back and week on week, we're seeing improvements. So obviously as well, people are getting more confident. They're coming, they're seeing what's happening. We are seeing the people are a lot more, they're researching a lot more what they want. So the customer, it's not about coming to and enjoy the experience of the outlet anymore. It's not long dwell time. So they're coming for shorter, but they're coming with a specific purchase in mind. So a lot of it is price driven through the offers that you have now. So the customer will inform themselves, they'll do more research, they'll come to the outlet with a specific idea in mind and purchase that. So while the dwell time has decreased, the spend per customer has increased as well, which has been a positive trend. And as I said before, we've seen this trend that the spend and the sales are generally outstripping the footfall, and that's come back quicker.
I think
Thomas, your point of view.
Yeah, one topic to the how have we done it, Lo. So first of all, we had a clear concept for all of that, of that centers, and I think it was done all in a way by the center management. So we have provided our stores in all of our 10 centers with all the visuals, all the point of sale material, all the disinfection. We have provided them, do they need the plexis for the tills and cash desks. So it was a clear way of working together with the brands. What do they need for the reopening? That from one day to the other, we are on the same page and we have the same, professional approach. Also with them, how many people are allowed to go into the store and so on and so on. And also how we, with extra security, and Stefan, you mentioned it before, the problem of of too much people in the center where we have restrictions. So I think it was clear that this is not, maybe compared to the shopping center, an issue that the different brands had to sort out by themselves, but it was steered, guided and organized, and also the different, small items like disinfection or this and that was done in our cases by us, by the center management, and we provided all the brands with that. Nevertheless, we have higher costs on cleaning and so on, but that's obvious after that. But overall, I think it was, as mentioned before, well appreciated by the customers that they have a balanced feeling between of this health and safety and this one, on the other hand, get a good shopping experience.
Great. Otto, any additional remarks to that?
Well, maybe it's interesting to share that by the end of January, actually, we had our first internal COVID-19 call already. So, and the first focus was, okay, we need a plan in place in case we have a coronavirus case in one of our centers, or one of the centers had to be closed. So the first focus was more on closing the centers, then on reopening the centers. And of course, we had, like the other panelists shared as well, we had extensive reopening guidelines prepared for the centers, because the execution, of course, need to happen by the center teams. And our priority was always with the safety of our guests, brand partners, and store staff. And of course, we had protocols for safe shopping in place as well. I think we've been able to do the reopening very successful, very strong rebound of footfall and sales. So I think both the guests, but also the brand partners, appreciated all the work that we put in, especially in the reopening plans and the protocols.
Great. That was all measures concerning the customers, the shoppers. Let's also talk a little bit about the tenants, the users. I think there was a lot of discussion ongoing. The existing situation on the one hand, on the other side, I think there will be an outlook for the near future. What will happen with the tenants, with the so-called COVID-19 past situation? What do you expect from the tenant side? What will happen, or will be, I would say, the result of the discussion from your point of view, Otto?
You mean about the performance, or about the safety of the brand staff, or?
More or less, I would say the operations for the retailers concerning maybe the lease format, or the expectation of how, let's say, they have to restructure their portfolio or whatever it is, more from the retail point of view.
Yeah, because we have such a strong rebound after reopening, sales numbers are pretty good. So our priority now is to get back as soon as possible to 2019 levels of footfall and sales. So the brands are not complaining about the sales they're doing in our centers at the moment. So yes, we have to deal with the coronavirus period of time, and especially with they had to close the centers. But now we are looking at the future again, and I think it's looking promising.
And this is still an
So
ongoing process at the moment, right? That you still are in a way to find, let's say, case-by-case solutions, which each and everyone, which might look different for sure.
Yeah, of course. You know, we talk about deferring of payments, payment plans, in some cases, rent abatements. But we're also talking about opening pop-up stores because they have, of course, a big issue with the inventory and stock. So we can also be a solution for one of the issues or the challenges that the brands are facing with the inventory. So yeah, we have daily conversations with the brands about how we can help them, how we can actually prove this brand partnership that we're all talking about and make it real. But the same conversation, we're talking about opening new stores, opening pop-up stores, or other kinds of business cooperation.
Many people talk about, just if they talk about support, about rental reliefs, which is somehow boring, but somehow necessary, depending on the situation. What do you think,
Yeah.
what is a higher share? Is the support on, let's say, rental discussion better, or more the support on, let's say, operational push or operational, let's say, input to manage the situation much better?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. So obviously you have to address the financial issues of the brands. You have to talk about rents, about deferrals, about payment plans. I all understand that. But that's not the only conversation we're having with the brands. In the same meeting, I want to discuss opening new stores or pop-up stores or helping them with operational issues and challenges. So for me, that's a true brand partnership and a true brand relationship. So it has to be a win-win outcome and not just about rent abatements, because I fully agree that's a very boring discussion and it's not helping the relationship on the long term. So this is one meeting, one conversation with more topics to address.
Okay, sounds good. I've got the information that Mario Schwann is online, but I have not seen him so far. Is he here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Fantastic. Welcome,
Hi,
Mario.
sorry for being very, very late, but I heard very nice statements from the others. Sorry for being very late, but a big thank you for the invitation, Reinhard. Yeah. But I think it's very interesting what you just said, all. I totally agree. I think the good thing is that the numbers are coming back, that the sales is coming back. I think what all of us helped is that the borders are open, and we see that this kind of not just focusing on the catchment is a given at the moment, but we also see the movement between the countries, and that's a good one. So I think also the discussion with our brand partners, and I think we always talk about brand partners, this kind of relationship is important, and then we see which of these are the real partners also for the future. And I think there are many in the field, and that's, I think it's really good news. But for all of us, I think we did it right in regards of all the safety measures. I think we also got the opportunity with lower footfall, learning from day to day, from week to week. And I think that's key at the end, that we are coming out of this COVID situation. And that's really supportive for everyone, for the landlords, but also for our brand partners. And that's good news.
Thanks very much. So Mario, welcome firstly. And of course, I do a little introduction for you if you allow, because people should know who is online. We made a little introduction on at the very beginning. So you are the center manager of the designer outlet Parndorf, managed by MacArthur Glen. And you are, in addition to that, the interim general manager for Parndorf, Salzburg and Ochtrup. So you have some heads on, not only the center manager, but also the general manager, that people know what you are doing, correct?
Absolutely right.
Fantastic. We are sticking a little bit also on the success factors in general from outlet centers. So, but now a little information to the auditorium, because we have now so many questions which could not be raised all in total. So I have to apologize that we could not answer each and every question. Some are very directly raised to the panelists. Some are already, let's say, a bit more general. I would love to come back to the discussion from the beginning about the success factors. And Stefan said that there are some KPIs have been followed up. And what I'm always curious to see is what is the operational differentiation point or success factor from the outlet center. Stefan, could you jump on that again? How you manage and operate the malls or the outlets? which is somehow different to the shopping centers because you have the experience?
I mean, fundamentally, it comes down to the investment model as well. So it's not about securing a high base rent for a 10-year period. It's really about driving the sales performance of the individual brands. And in order to do that, you need to have a certain level of sophistication. So it means you have to really have the numbers, the sales numbers of the tenants as well. And you know, we get all the sales footfall numbers on a daily basis. So it's not just about the total center footfall, but we're able to see what are the capture rates, what are the conversion rates. We've got dedicated retail teams. These are big teams that are working with the tenants on a daily basis, that are looking, okay, again, what is stock offer that's on, how the delivery is working, how is the staff, you know, we're offering staff training packages as well. The marketing, and previously from my experience, the marketing was often done by the center manager. In the outlet, you've got, again, big marketing teams that are really looking at, on a very sophisticated level, how we can engage with the customers. They're constantly benchmarking as well. You know, if you will have an event, you will really look in detail, how much money have you spent on the event and what is the return been? And if it's been successful, that's the benchmark that is set for the next year. So there's a detailed analysis of all the KPIs. And even with that information, it's very powerful because you have a different discussion with the tenant. It's not just, oh, there's not enough footfall in the center. It's really, you can look at the reasons, you know, is it the brand awareness? Is it the products that are on offer? Are they having a problem with the staffing? Is there too much rotation? Often we've seen that, you know, a simple thing like changing a store manager has a positive impact on the sales. And it's this attention to detail of really driving the business, which is the fundamental difference for me, for the outlet business that I've experienced now compared to when I've been in the full price business.
Mm-hmm. That sounds much more retail driven and less real estate driven. Otto, your point of view on that?
Yeah, well, that's the key summary. We're managing a retail business, not a real estate business. That sounds a bit weird because at the end of the day, we're also a real estate business, but our daily KPIs, our weekly KPIs are all retail KPIs. You know, it's sales per square meter, it's conversion rate, it's capture rates. These are all retail KPIs. So there's a second biggest difference is there's much more focus on experience, guest experience, than full price shopping center or environments. And the last one is much more alignment through that business partnership, that brand partnership on, you know, both goals are quite similar to improve and increase the turnover for the brands. And because of the lease agreement model with more focus on turnover rents, these goals are aligned. But the key part is we are managing a retail business, not a real estate business.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a big change also in the lease formats compared to shopping centers or to the current situation? Is there a much higher focus on sales or turnover based rents or whatever it could be?
In outlet centers or in full price shopping centers?
In outlet centers?
Yeah, it's always about sales. It's always about optimizing turnover per square meter. It's always about getting more footfall, increase the spend per visitor, so increase the total over sales. It's not so much about base rent or service charge. Obviously, that's part of the business model as well. But again, daily, weekly KPIs are all retail KPIs.
Mm. Maria, could I ask you, that it would mean that you do not have to fix your rent or let's say 5 or 10 years length, so you can operate much more the rental income. So that's a chance, not a risk, right? Maria, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think what was just said, I think it starts with real estate, it moved into retail, and I think it's more and more a kind of an entertainment business where we are in the outlet industry. I think therefore we are driving footfall, therefore we are driving the KPIs. And I think at the end of the day, for all our investors and owners, I think that's the only point how we are seeing our business. And in regards of that, for sure, rent is an important topic for every one of us. And therefore, I think we are driving in a win-win situation with a close partnership and close relationship with our brands, sometimes knowing them more on site than their shopmanners know themselves. So I think it's really, I think this kind of interaction to drive this forward and getting out more as we had in the previous years.
Great, thanks so much. There's one last question from the auditorium I would love to raise. It's a nice question because it's a bit sensitive, I have to say, because I think each and every one of you have been there. The question is, what do you think of the outlet city like Metzingen? Is this a model that could be, I would say, transported or adapted to other cities, or is it a very, very unique situation? Yeah. Mario, would you like to start?
No, but I would like to say something on that. You know, that we have developed and managed for a couple of years. It is the city outlet Bad Münstereifel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this. So I think the principal idea to bring retail back into towns is good because we are rebuilding with our village style what original was in the inner cities in towns. But the circumstances need to fit into that. Yeah, from the investor point of view, from the way how many stores you can bring into that. So the concept in itself, I think, is a smart concept to bring it back to towns and make towns to outlet like Metzingen or Bad Münstereifel. But there are a lot of circumstances that make it very, very difficult with all that, you know, different ownerships in these towns and so on and so on. But I think in principle, it would help our inner cities with new innovative concepts to do a comeback, which we see is at the moment a problem anyway. Yeah.
Okay, Mario, now it's your turn.
I mean, as we're not having this kind of concept in our portfolio, I'm not so familiar with it. But as Thomas just said, I think this is a concept looks nice. I think great for customers. But I think you need to better understand the circumstances around with the investors and how this is moving forward. So maybe less from my side to really give good arguments for this principle. But I think it's a good idea and a good approach. Could work, I believe, if you're doing it right with the right people.
Any other view on that, Otto, Stefan? We don't have to stick too much on that because we have just a few minutes to go. I would love to discuss one last topic, if you allow, because some of you have been in the full price business, how you mentioned it. What do you think the colleagues from the full price business, from the shopping centers, from the retail parks could learn and should, let's say, adapt from the outlet centers? What will be some, let's say, some learnings after this 1 hour discussion on the one hand, from your point of view, from your experience, what they should do in future to be also successful?
Well, maybe starting from that. I think,
Thomas, please.
Yeah, I think it was already mentioned a couple of times. I think we all see ourselves in first instance as retailers. And I think the brand partner relationship and the customer relationship, these two elements, I think are then, you know, are base of the success story. So I think really to see our brands as partners and not just as tenants or so, and also see our customers as guests or those who spend a day out. I think this approach to make the customers, guests, whatever you call it, happy, that they have a good day out. On the other hand, really to work with the brands, to see it as a partnership where you have your ups and downs. I think this is the key factor. And then you can overcome these things much better, this crisis much better than you just talk to them when you know, just prolong a lease after 5 years.
Stefan, your point of view?
I think if you could build some flexibility into and give some opportunity, maybe short-term agreements, pop-up agreements, structure the deals in a different way to test new brands. If you could do that, I think that could bring some opportunity. I don't think it's that easy as well just to switch from a full price model to an outlet model, because it's also going to require some intensive investment again. You need to get the systems up and running, you need to get the teams up and running, and that's also of course going to have a direct impact on the fixed costs as well. But there's definitely a transition that one can make, and I think if it can start with implementing systems on looking more qualified at the key KPIs and seeing really how your tenants are performing and who is really converting and who is capturing the most footfall in your center, and then focusing on these brands. And if you can do that even in full price and focus on these successful brands, bring some flexibility into your leases. They don't always have to be 10 years. They don't always have to have that guaranteed rent. There's a certain element of risk in that. But if it's a calculated risk and you know the sales densities and the potential of a brand, you know, at the end of the day, your turnover rent can far outstrip any base rent you can get if it's successfully done.
Right. Mario, what can learn the colleagues from Unibuy, ECE, Klépierre, ATC from MacArthur Clan?
First of all, I really believe that we can learn from each other. I think we should not so snobby and saying we do all right. I mean, we have a lot of topics we can improve, and we need to bring forward. I think that's important for me. But I think what Thomas mentioned, I think that's one of the key elements in the outlet industry, that you work very close with your brand partners. You learn from them, they learn from you, and you try to drive the business together forward with all the entertainment around in centers, smaller, bigger centers. It's everywhere similar, and understanding the customer. And I think this is something where we are really focusing on how we communicate with our customers. What does the digital industry means for us in the future? Social media, I mean, they're changed a lot, and we see this in our Facebook fans numbers we get in all our centers and how we are driving this forward. So I think these are some elements. Maybe we are a bit ahead, and there are some other elements we are a bit behind them. At the end of the day, I think the outlet model is a very successful, and I think brand relationship key for the future, and further develop what we have done in the past years.
Thank you. Otto, your point on that, and maybe a last word on your prediction, your outlook to the outlets and the business in the future.
Okay. Let me start with that then, because I think the future is bright. I think, you know, if you see how strong the rebound is at the reopening, and if you look at the sales and footfall numbers now, I'm very optimistic about not only the near-term future, but also the long-term future of outlet centers. I think for me, the biggest difference is that, you know, outlet centers really moved away from this traditional tenant-landlord model, and they moved to a true brand partnership model, where the goals and objectives are much more aligned than in this traditional landlord-tenant model. So that's the first comment. And the second one is that outlet centers are much more focused on experience, guest experience, and they are really focusing on making sure that the guests have a great time when visiting one of the centers. And I think a lot of full price shopping center environments are not offering the same experience, for sure.
Great. Now to the round. Let's get started with Stefan again. Your prediction and your last word, or your let's say commendation to the industry.
I agree. I think, I mean, we've seen the rebound. It's been better than expected. I think the outlet segment is still going to grow and go from strength to strength. I think an advantage is as well, it's not an overdeveloped channel at the moment. I think key as well, the brands are buying into it themselves, so they are becoming more sophisticated as well. As I said, the investment on the side of the brands is bigger. They've got dedicated teams now. They're really treating this as a separate and dedicated channel, which is great. And it's not just, we've moved on from the pure clearance model. So from that point of view, I think it's here to stay. You know, of course, there might be a consolidation on the market. There might be some brands that fall away due to the crisis, or some smaller centers that struggle. But I think the big dominant ones, the ones that have got the professional management in place, they're going to survive, and they're going to continue to grow.
Thank you very much. Thomas, your commendation to the industry?
Well, I think most of it had already been done and said and done. And I think, yeah, brand partnership, you know, create destinations, and you know, and you know, together with the brand, with the customers, you go the right way into the future.
Fantastic, great. A last word from you, Mario.
I think we all have to listen what our customer wants and what they expect from the retail industry. And I think we're really moving into this digital world. We all know the sales online is growing, and therefore we need to drive this destination shopping. And I think we have so many customers driving more than an hour to get into an outlet center. And I think there is a reason for it. So that means that we all do it right. But at the end, I think we have to learn. We have learned 25 years, and we are still developing and changing and moving forward. And I think this kind of entrepreneurship we had in the beginning, we need to think about how the future will look like in the next 5 years, the whole retail industry. So there are a lot of changes, and I think we need to be aware of that. And this will support all of us. And I'm really convinced that we're on the right way. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Time is over, I have to say. That was a great discussion, a great round, great panelists. Very, very exciting. It shows that this is a very, very interesting topic, and hope there's a follow-up. Thank you very much. I thank also to the auditorium with this huge number of questions. And now I hand back to Reinhard for the last words.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus. The most important thing I have to say at the end is a big thank you. Thank you for, I think, an extremely exciting, informative, and entertaining discussion. Maybe I'm pleased a little bit. Maybe we did a small contribution with these talks to understanding and dealing with the current very difficult situation in the industry. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will make a summary and we will send it out the next days. With a small video and also with a text summary. So watch our next newsletter. Big thank you to the panelists, and many thanks to the audience for watching. Stay with us. Greetings from Vienna. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.